Right. Welcome back, everybody, to the brain injury discussion. This is your host, Jay. Today, we are going to talk about seasons of brain injury. Obviously, as the Earth rotates around the sun, we get different seasons. And I think it's important that we know how to prepare for brain injury. And so, if we're able to identify the brain injuries that happen during certain seasons of the year, we can be better prepared. And like always, sources will be in the description below. I'd encourage you all to read that. And we would appreciate feedback in either the form of a like. We appreciate it when we get a thumbs up. And also, feel free to comment down below if there's something new you learned, or maybe you have an idea for another topic. We love answering questions. But with that being said, let's get into this. We'd also appreciate it if you subscribe to the channel. Summer. The summer is a very hot time of the year, and far as the brain injuries that we see during the summer, there's a few there that are summer specific. You might tend to see more heat stroke during the summer because the sun is out, it's warmer outside, and that's where your internal body temperature gets above 40 degrees centigrade or 40 degrees Celsius. But really, that translates into 104 Fahrenheit, roughly. And so, heat stroke, what happens to the body when you go into heat stroke, it can damage the other organs, but when it comes to the brain, um, the the brain is a very soft, mushy organ, and it'll actually start to cause damage to the brain. Basically, it's kind of like your body cooking. And so what you want to do with someone with heat stroke is remove them from the heat source and cool them down. And that's more common in summer. It is possible in the other seasons, but you could prepare for this a little bit more during the summer months. Make sure you got that hydration. Maybe you have some electrolyte drinks and maybe you have some shade ready. And also take care of each other, really. If you start seeing someone acting a little weird, acting a little exhausted, might be a good time to say, hey, take a break. Also, in the summer, we have other kinds of water sports, like boating and sailing. Now, being in the Navy myself, I can tell you that being on a boat and can definitely cause a brain injury from other ways, so like hitting your head. But the real danger here is really from drowning. And people can survive drowning, but they might not survive the dry drowning afterwards. So again, we want to avoid brain injury. We want to prevent these accidents. So if you're going out on the boat, make sure you have a safety vest on. Maybe you have that flotation device ready. Make sure that what you need is available on that boat, especially in the worst case scenario. You want to plan and prepare for the worst case scenario, but hope for the best. And so making sure that everything is good and prepared gives you a leg up. There's also summer specific sports. Think about like water skiing, beach activities. You just want to be prepared for that. That kind of ties in with heat stroke and other boating activities. But during the summer, there's also a lot of travel. And so a lot of people will be out on the roads, especially the super highways, trying to get where they need to go. And I can't stress this enough. If you're going to operate a motor vehicle, you need to do it safely, not just for your safety, but everyone else's. You might not be taking that summer trip, but maybe the person driving crazy is because they're trying to get to the beach at a reasonable time. And so, if you are either one of those people or you're on the roads, just keep in mind, hey, be safe when you're on the roads. If you need to get there earlier, leave earlier. Don't drive crazy, especially in the summer. It does not give you a license to drive crazy. But also in the summer, you have a lot more outdoor activities, which can lead to accidents. Think about someone, climbing a tree. They might fall and hit their head. Think about someone cleaning the gutters on a house. Think about the jobs that have to be done during the summer outside, when it is light out, when the dangers are apparent. So again, this kind of ties back in with prevention. You want to prevent the brain injury by taking appropriate safety measures. But with that being said, let's go to the opposite of summer and let's talk about winter brain injuries. Winter brain injuries, obviously, there's winter sports, right? Um, you're not going to see a lot of boating in the winter, especially if you're landlocked. But you might see that during the winter, you might have this stuff called snow on the ground. And that leads to activities like skiing and snowboarding, both of which are extremely fun. I enjoyed skiing back in the day, and skiing can be very dangerous. Same with snowboarding, high jumps, kind of those winter sports. It's a good idea to wear a helmet. It's also a good idea to be safe. And if you're going skiing or snowboarding, um, don't go for the most dangerous or most exciting path right away. Um, get some experience before you start doing more dangerous slides down the hill. But you want to make sure that you're being safe out there. And the winter sports aspect of that, if you go on YouTube, you'll find people who have been injured in the head with severe TBIs from skiing. And so keep that in mind. You want to be safe when you're participating in these activities. Also, you might find that hypothermia, again, hypothermia can be deadly, but hypothermia can also cause a brain injury as well. Uh, but then again, so can the opposite of that, hyperthermia or heat stroke. But what I'm really seeing in this picture here is we have this road here, and we see that there's a layer of snow, probably a layer of slush underneath that, and we see that there are icy conditions. Ice doesn't care about the brakes. Ice doesn't necessarily um, care whether you have four-wheel drive or not. Although four-wheel drive would be better in snow, but during icy conditions, there are more vehicle accidents, and also people fall from slipping on the ice. And so, if there is ice on the road, if there is like the roads haven't been cleared yet, it's probably a good idea to avoid, if possible, avoid driving on unsafe roads. You want those roads to be dry. You want them to be safe. You want them to be clear of snow. Not everywhere is going to get the same level of snow, but you want to be careful with that because that can be very dangerous, especially for not just yourself as a motor vehicle office operator, not just your passengers, but other people on the road as well. Not everyone will be able to stay at home. I get that because, you need police, firefighters, EMS, nurses, doctors, and everyone else, and military. But if you're going to go on the roads, I mean, try to avoid it. But if you're going to go on the roads, make sure you be safe about it. And the same thing goes with ice. You want to have proper footwear when you are in an area where ice is quite possible. So keep that in mind. Ice is very dangerous, or at least ice on the ground. You don't want to slip and fall. That can cause a brain injury. But with that being said, let's continue. Let's talk about fall and spring. Obviously, in the fall and spring, there are certain seasonal sports. Um, and those sports, some of them require you to have a helmet. Think about football, think about baseball, think about all those activities, those fun activities that are very fun. However, there's safety equipment there. You want to make sure that you are prepared, especially for the sports. Take bicycling as an example. You should wear a helmet when you're on a bicycle. It makes sense. That's another layer of protection for your brain. And so I like protecting brains. That's a good idea. Also, we see increased rates of travel. People either coming back from uh, summer vacation, they're either going to work or maybe their spring break. Um, but we also see that in the spring, there's reduced vision with fog. And so if you are operating a motor vehicle, you want to be cognizant of that. You want to make sure the lights work in your vehicle. You want to make sure that you are able to be seen and also that you can see as well. So clean those headlights, make sure that your windshield works, that it is clear of obstructions. If there's cracks and dents in it, maybe you want to get those addressed, but you want to be able to see. And that could cause more car accidents, which causes concussions. Also, speaking of concussions, there are cyclical patterns of concussions, specifically in autumn. And what we find is there's increased rates of falls during certain months. Now, October is actually the number one month that I could find for falls. Um, the explanation there is kind of vague, but know that October, September, and May are all months that have a very high prevalence of falls. And so when we're able to take this, we can start making planning that way. Okay, maybe it's getting darker sooner. Maybe people don't have their flashlight out yet, or maybe the darkness, maybe the sun isn't out quite yet in the case of May. So those are things to consider. But anyways, what does this leave me as the brain injury case manager to conclude from all of this? Well, there are in fact predictability patterns. Again, if we're going into the fall, I need to know that yes, falls from the autumn season, like in September and October, um, I should be aware that those are the months where we might see more of those. The same thing applies with going into winter. Okay, winter, we have winter sports, we have dangerous driving, we got snow, a lot of that. So we need to be cognizant of that, not only for our own safety, but for everyone's. Also, it allows me to predict and plan. Maybe I do need new tires on the vehicle. Maybe I do need to take some precautions. Maybe I need to be prepared to work from home if I can in a certain job if there's going to be snow. And so predictability happens, especially in the seasons. And so with the seasonality of these brain injuries, I can now think, okay, how do I prevent these brain injuries? Also, we should increase the awareness of brain injury at the peak times. Let's keep thinking about, okay, the summer, that's when the water sports and the boating's happening. The winter, that's when the skiing and the snowboarding happens. The summer, that's when people are traveling. October's for fall. We should be aware of that sort of information. Some brain injuries are, in fact, seasonally activity related. We need to be mindful of that. That also helps us prepare. That way, we don't go into a situation like boating in the summer without having the proper safety equipment. Same thing goes with going skiing. You probably want a helmet. You want good skis. You want to go on good slopes instead of very dangerous slopes to start with. You got to be careful with that sort of things, but mainly this increases our ability to prepare and prevent brain injury. We want to be prepared and we also want to prevent brain injury. The best brain injury is the one that you don't get. I'd rather have people have near misses than get brain injuries. So being prepared goes a long way. But I think that'll conclude it for this video. Here are my resources. We'd appreciate it if you subscribe to the channel, give us some feedback in the form of a like, or maybe leave a comment down below. We do appreciate comments when we get them. And feel free to share this video with a friend, especially during a seasonal time. We would greatly appreciate that. And as always, sources in the description below. And I hope everyone has an absolutely wonderful day. And don't forget to protect those brains.